Hey artists, this is Antonio Alanis, and in today's video I want to talk about how to start your art career and give you a step-by-step roadmap of what you can consider doing if you're starting out. So, my name is Antonio Alanis, and I am a visual artist that is very interested in sharing the knowledge that I have around my journey as an artist who grew up in the South in North Carolina, but was born in Mexico. So I don't see a lot of artists locally talking about these kinds of things. And it's really my pleasure to share this with all of you. I am answering this question because I've received a lot of people asking the same question in the past few years. And I wanted to compile a lot of the same information that I've been able to share and make this into a very concise, hopefully to the point video. So, with that being said, one of the biggest questions I always get asked from people starting out, usually people in their early 20s, 30s, sometimes people in their 50s and 60s, they ask me, Antonio, what are the things that you consider that you need to do before starting your career in art? So, the biggest thing I want to say, and even what I want to say is that it's very different for every person. My journey may not be your journey, and what I will be sharing is that it's so tailored to each individual person that it's hard to really give a general roadmap of what people need to do. And I find that phrase very problematic, the need to do, because in my experience, particularly in my art role and art development, I haven't had a lot of luck following the what's supposed to be happen or what's supposed to be created or what am I supposed to be doing. So everything has been unfolding as I go, and the things that I will be sharing is very much individualized to my experience, but hopefully you can gather some of the things that have helped me and you can apply to this life that we call being an artist. So the very first thing is, again, identify what kind of things you want to do. There are a lot of ways that you can turn and break into the art world as a artist. You can be a beginner artist or an experienced artist. You can be someone who does studio art. You can be someone who is an illustrator. You could be someone who does merchandise or merch. And every single thing will be different and every single step will be different. So I will give you more of an experience from a artist that started creating in the studio and my work more into the gallery space, and then now it's turning more into the digital art world editorial space where I am currently creating illustrations for clients throughout where I live. And some things may or may not resonate, but the biggest thing is just find things that resonate with your art medium. So the first thing is, one would be to identify your local art opportunity or your local art opportunities that are available to you. So I did start participating not necessarily as an artist, but as current cultural worker, but in previous jobs in art fairs and festivals and those kinds of things. So my biggest advice on this one, on step number one, is to start looking into what local art fairs, festivals, and community events already are happening in your area. So think about what opportunities exist, and you may or may not have noticed, but usually in the fall, we are now in summer 2025, but in the fall, there are a lot of things happening where I live. There are festivals for education, festivals for Latin American heritage, there are festivals for all sorts of things. And it's always exciting, it's a buzzing time. So the biggest thing is to start researching what kind of events you would like to attend. And maybe you haven't attended as many events. And think about what kind of things you're interested. So if you are interested in participating in local art fairs and are not sure what is around your area, one of the biggest tips I always give people is research what happened last year. So we are now in 2025, so search what happened in 2024 and identify a few organizations that align with your values and think about what kind of events they had last year and make a list of those things. So that way you have an idea about what kind of festivals may repeat and you can look at their social media and any other publication and research if they have those same events coming back this year. So that way you are prepared. Maybe their sign up is already started or has already started, or probably you missed it. Think about how you can plan for this year or next year if you already missed applying for selling in a local art fair. So start thinking that way, start identifying a few of the same events that are pretty much staples in community in the art. For example, where I live, where I started, there is a lot of, like I mentioned, a lot of festivals around art. And many of those opportunities are always looking for artist vendors. They're looking for people to bring in their art. So I can identify at least 3, 4, or 5 events that are happening throughout the year, in the spring, in the holiday season, and around the fall. So again, I already have an idea about what kind of events happen, and it gives me enough time to start prepping for them. So think about that, which ones you like to attend. And think about others, for example, Fall Fest. Is there a Fall Fest focus? Is there a organization that, again, as a Latino person, I like to support other Latino organizations. So look around Hispanic Heritage Month if there are any other organizations celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with calls to have people bring in their work. And also the holidays. In November, December, people, I would say, enjoy having opportunities to buy from local artists and locally made artwork. So think about what kind of organizations will likely have an event like this in November, December for the holidays. So if you're someone who does paintings or illustrations or maybe other art forms, you can also consider if they would have you bring in your work. So think about that. And again, I'm thinking locally, I'm also thinking in other cities. So where you live, make an outline of the things that you think other people are doing outside of your city as well. So where I live, I already have an idea about what my community will do. But there are other cities around where I live, and I also can look into the other things that they have. Now, I may not go and sell my work there, but one thing I can do is go and support, which brings me to step number 2. Step number 2 is to attend and to engage. One of the biggest things that I tell people is the biggest thing for me to break into and start my art career, it happened when I started to engage and attend events. The more I became aware about what events happen in my community, the more I was interested in learning more about what was going on around me. And the biggest things, again, I would say is attend these kinds of events in the fall, start making connections, start collecting people's digital cards or business cards and following them on social media or keeping up with the organizer's page. That way you are likely to receive notifications in the future and you have information to rely on. So again, we're making a mapping, a researching phase of what kind of things fit with what we do. So one of the funnest things that I would say happens during these events is that I get to talk to artists and vendors. I enjoy learning more about other artists and their work. So the more I began to attend these events, the more I began to realize that I really enjoy talking to people who had amazing art going on. And many of those times we would often share a few ideas about how to essentially create a certain effect that I really enjoyed from their work and talk about culture, talk about art, talk about some of the things that are happening in our landscape back then. And I really enjoyed that part because it made me have a connection and it made me have an understanding about other artists. And again, it made me feel that I was part of a community and other artists began to invite me for other events and things. So it was a great way to break into by having that social component of people realizing that hey, Antonio is a artist that creates posters for events, or Antonio is an illustrator that makes these kinds of artworks for publications. So the more we begin to attend and the more we engage with others, the more they will continue to keep us in mind. So the more we show up, I realize is the more people will begin to recognize our work. So the more we begin to create work around the things that we enjoy doing, the more that we begin to celebrate the kind of work that we enjoy bringing into this world, the more people will begin to notice that we exist. And if there ever is a need for the product that I offer, hopefully they can remember about me, which is, I think, one of the biggest things that are crucial into breaking into an artist's life. So the biggest thing that I would say, and I talk about this in all of my opportunities when I talk to young artists, is to network, to connect, because 9 times out of 10, many of the commissions that I do receive and end up accepting are not open calls, but they are closed and they reach out to me because they know my work directly, and are excited to start a conversation. So I would say working and attending and engaging, and it's a whole production being an artist and really getting a name out there. So that would be step number 2. Although I do want to know if we have any introverted artists or people who are a little bit more quiet and are having a lot of trouble going out to these kinds of events. I'm curious to see if you all have any advice for people who may be going through this. I realize that sometimes when I talk to artists, one of the biggest things they tell me is that they're a little bit quiet and they are introverted and they're not as social, so they're not likely to go out to these events. So I'm curious to see what other conversation points we can have in the comments. So step 2, attend and engage. Step number 3, which is related to step 1 and 2, is to follow and support local organizations. One of the biggest things I would tell you is to follow everyone that you know, everyone that you think does the work that you want to do. I kid you not, but I subscribe to a lot of newsletters. I have a separate email where I get notifications from newsletters that I really want to get in my inbox, so it doesn't really flood my regular email. And that way I get a lot of these notifications in real time, and I keep up with a lot of these news about what's happening. And one of the reasons I'm well connected is because I follow a lot of these organizations and I support them. I keep up with them, with what they're doing, and also help me keep in the loop with what's happening, and also show support with what they're doing as well. So that's step number 3. Step number 4 is building and strengthening your portfolio. It's a huge thing, and I will not be able to cover that in this video, but if you are new to this channel, maybe you have not seen it, but I did create a whole series of how to start your career as an exhibiting artist in galleries. And it's a 12-step video / podcast series that I did that will talk more in depth about what is a portfolio. Now, the portfolio in this video that I am talking about is mostly related to exhibiting in a gallery. But if you're not a gallery artist, there will be other things that you need to take in mind or into account when you are thinking about your portfolio if you are someone else like an illustrator. So just a word of advice for that. So again, with the portfolio, one of the biggest things I can say is start working and continue working on the things that you are creating already. The more you create, the more you have an option to show potential customers, potential buyers, potential people who can make your life possible through the arts. So keep creating. And we'll talk more about social media in the last step, or the second to last step in this video. But The biggest thing is to refine your best work and organize it in a way that's easy to share. Again, this video is not about starting your social media career as an artist, but the biggest thing I would say is to get your name out there and start sharing. Regardless of how I feel, I will post. I understand sometimes, many times, I'm my biggest critic. So many times I don't share what I want to share. And other times I share because I want to share as well, even though it's hard. Because sometimes I think the work that I'm sharing at that time could be better. And again, it's just one of those things. So your portfolio will be critical to applying to these opportunities, all these shows and all these things that are happening. Sometimes they will ask images of the work that you have produced. So it's already great to have collection of images that you can share with vendors and other kind of people that may look into your work. So you can have many ways of creating a portfolio. You can have social media account. You can have links to your website, and that's something that I actually have. You can look at some of the work that I have there. They will be helpful. The biggest thing about a portfolio is that it gives people a glimpse of your abilities, your voice, your style, your unique approach to creating artwork. And that's one of the biggest strengths that I can share about having a portfolio. So think about what ways are you sharing your work in this world. So step number 5 is applying to art calls. An art call essentially is a request. People are asking you to submit and apply to show your work, sell your work, or anything else related to creating and producing and disseminating art. So look for open calls for artists in your area or your city or your state. Think about what kind of things they are looking for. So think about art calls like gallery exhibitions, maybe teaching artist calls. An organization where I live, they have a summer program for elementary school students. So they're always looking for artists who can come in and talk about their work. So again, identify those kinds of things that may interest you. If you're a teaching artist, that may be a possibility that you can pursue. Or if you are someone who is interested in doing more poster design, more illustration, think about what other organizations do the same kind of things. Now, sometimes I think it's hard to find these things if you don't know people in your area or just starting out. Think about how you can also follow other organizations in other states. For example, I recently heard about an organization in the Midwest who is looking to commission an artist to design a poster a Day of the Dead event coming up in November. So while that event is a significant event in my career as an artist, the event itself is far away from where I live, and I will have no connection to that community. But again, the qualifications of the call were pretty general. They did not have a limit of where you had to live. So think about those kinds of things, and that could give you experience in starting to design and create things other people may start commissioning from you. And again, that is building your portfolio, that is building your visibility. Then you can begin to share that other people are hiring you, if you, of course, are going to go through the hiring route, and also are thinking about your art as a business. Because I realize that for many of us, sometimes we think that art is not a business, and others of us do think that art is a business. So think about what kinds of things and what kind of end goal you like to do. So again, apply to art calls and other things that are important. One of the biggest things too, you may be thinking, but I don't think I have experience. One of the biggest things I tell myself is I have the experience at this particular moment, and it's up to the client or to the organization to decline me, but I will not decline myself from applying. So even if you don't feel that you have the experience, or even if you feel that you do not have the experience to apply either ways, you can still learn a lot. You can still learn from the call itself, what kind of things they require of you to create these kinds of calls. For example, sometimes they may ask you to submit artist bio and artist statement and how to start creating a portfolio. So those kinds of things, even though you may not get the experience of commissioning or getting the commission from the client, you can still get the experience about what kind of things do commissions ask. And that way you can be ready for next year, not only for that opportunity, for many other opportunities as well. So again, do not let imposter syndrome bring you down. Will be my biggest one. So step number 6, visiting local galleries. So now this is more of a gallery exhibition place where I started. And you may not be a gallery artist, you may not be a studio artist, and that is okay. But if you are, start identifying and mapping out local galleries that are interesting to you. So are there art guilds? Are there arts councils? Are there local nonprofits? Are there coffee shops that enjoy having cultural events? Are there things like bookstores, any other kind of cultural worker event or organization that likes to do the work that you do or to promote the work that you do? Think about them and visit them. You have a lot of options. Where I live, I have a lot of options to visit. They have exhibitions once a month and they rotate, so I could see potentially up to 12 exhibitions per year. And that is a lot. You can learn a lot from how artists are exhibiting. Also look into art calls, but look into art opening nights or reception nights, where you can come in and learn and talk to the artist. Talk to them, get an experience of what their work means by listening to them. Oftentimes, one of the biggest things I enjoy doing as an artist myself is attending a gallery. But whenever I do have the availability, I love to go to the artist reception nights because I get to see them and get a word that I would otherwise not get from just attending the exhibition itself. So a lot of these times, artists come in and talk about all the beautiful things that they have to say, and it just makes it even better when I get to hear what artists wanted to produce and to promote and to communicate. Oftentimes, that message is lost through the work itself, and I just like to enjoy it. Seeing the work and seeing how the information that I gained from the artist or the presenter or the panel just complements the work even more. So now that I'm thinking about this, I know there is a theory that I read a few months ago about how work should explain the work itself, that one should not rely on someone else to explain, even the artist, I believe. So again, I'm not going to get into that theory. The art world is full of so many things, and I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning about it, but I don't know if I agree with it or not. I probably don't, but anyways, that's not the point of the video. So again, visit local galleries and find things that you are interested in. Again, I am part of an artist collective, and we create exhibitions at least once a year. If you're a Latin American artist, reach out to other Latin American artists who may be doing exhibitions every year and think about, hey, are you taking new members? Or show up to the reception night and introduce yourself to them. And maybe that can open up a few opportunities for you in the future. So this brings us to step number 7, sharing your work on social media. I talk a lot about visibility and being comfortable, not being afraid about sharing our work online. But the biggest thing I would say is, how are people going to find us if we don't share our work? How are people going to find us if we do not share our talents with this world? So think about what kinds of opportunities you do have, what kinds of platforms you enjoy. Now, I'm not saying that you need to post on every single social media platform that there is, because of course we get into the complicated idea about managing each of them individually and how one thing may not work for the other and things like that. So identify one or two modes or social media platforms that you like to focus on and focus on them. Try to upload as much as you can. Try to document your journey if you are one of those artists that wants to let the world know about what's happening. And for example, if I have a gallery or an event coming up and this gallery exhibition is about to start, I can do a few seconds recording myself, welcoming everyone, telling everyone, hey, we're starting the exhibition. We start in 1 hour. Make sure you are aware this is happening. If you can't make it tonight, we still have the opportunity to show this the upcoming weeks. So think about those kinds of things. And again, I won't go into details of what kind of social media platforms there are, but the ones that have worked for me the most happen to be Instagram and LinkedIn. Instagram, of course, because there are a lot of artists, a lot of visual creatives, and LinkedIn because we get to work, or I get to work with many clients that align with my values as an artist who wants to uplift diversity and inclusion. So think about those kinds of things that you will identify with the most. Where are your clients? One of the biggest things is where are your clients and where do you find them? And how, if not the most important part, how can you make yourself findable? How can you make yourself be in the radar? How can you make yourself be findable? And it's the biggest things because remember, a lot of us are going through a lot of things and we have a lot of things in our mind and our plate. And one of the biggest things that I enjoy and I really am grateful for is when people think about an opportunity and they immediately think about me and they share something for me. And it feels so good that I am doing my work. Sometimes people may not notice, or I may realize that people are not noticing, but people are really noticing. If there's a gallery exhibition or a grant, or if there's a commission or a private company wants to create or commission a piece of work, a mural, for example, someone might think about me and say, Antonio, I thought about you. I can't take this opportunity, but please reach out to them if you're interested. So those kinds of things, again, 9 times out of 10 people reach out to me if they don't know me. That is the biggest thing. So again, to give you a summary, every single way of starting our artist life or artist career will be different. I cannot give you a general blanket idea about how to start your art career or how to break into your art career. The biggest thing is to know yourself and find other people that do the work that you do and reach out to them, learn from them, visit their work, their opportunities that they have in person or virtual opportunities, and think about how you can learn from them as well. And again, identify local art opportunities such as festivals, attend and engage. Super important to get ourselves out there, as well as follow and support local organizations and their work, and think about how your work can further strengthen their work. And as you're strengthening their work, strengthen your work as well by building and strengthening your portfolio by creating work that is to a standard in your field, as well as applying to art calls. So what kind of things are you interested in doing? Are you interested in doing murals? Are you interested in doing things like illustrations? Are you interested in doing things like hand-drawn images? What are the things that you're interested in creating? And as well, if you're an artist who likes to go into galleries or you like to exhibit in galleries in the future, visit local galleries. And part number 7, share your work. So I shared a lot of information, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very curious to see which of these steps resonate with you the most. And I'm interested to know which of these would you like for me to talk more about. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I would like to talk more about as a established visual artist and illustrator in the United States. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and I'll see you next time.